What's up, guys? We got another game. We have the white pieces against Buboko, rated 1628. We're gonna go with the bishop's opening. We like this opening. It's fun, very attacking. We try to end the game quick. He develops his knight. What does this threaten? Our pawn. We protect our pawn and develop a piece. He develops his other knight. What does this threaten? Just central control. We close our pawn chain and we solidify our position. We develop our bishop. He develops his bishop. What does this threaten? It simply pins our knight. Not a big deal. The drawback is if he trades for our knight, we'll be the only one with a dark square bishop. We're going to develop our knight and defend our other knight in a way that doesn't block us from playing f4, because we want to play f4. So black jumps his knight into the center, moving the same piece twice in the opening. What does this threaten? Just to take our knight and maybe ruin our pawn structure, which we don't care about because this supports the center. The drawback, wastes a little time, undefends some central squares. So we're going to ignore him and castle and continue developing. He takes our knight. We could take with the queen. We could also take with the knight. We're going to take with the queen and entice him to ruin our pawn structure, because I'd rather have his bishop than a good pawn structure. I mean, this is a good pawn structure, but then a connected pawn structure. So he opens up in the center. What does this threaten? Our bishop. Develops his bishop. No big deal. He's not castled. We have the bishop pair. I'm happy with that. His king's in the center. I'm going to continue to open it. So we take the pawn he offers with an attack on another pawn with check. We're castled. We don't have to worry about anything. So he moves his queen here to defend the pawn. What's the drawback? It's a queen. Queens are not good defenders because they can be kicked. And he probably wants to castle next. We are going to go d4. What does this threaten? To win a piece if he castles, right? So he can't castle. It also attacks the pawn twice. He can't defend it unless he moves his knight to one of these weird squares, which is bad in its own way. So he goes c5. What does this threaten? Our pawn chain a little bit. What's the downside? This. He walks right into our fork. Pretty obvious fork. Don't know how he missed it. It's 1628 rating. That's weird and kind of crazy. But now the game's over in 11 moves. This is why I like the bishop's opening, because it's not about like playing it safe and studying some positional ideas and outplaying your opponent. Like this is about just attack the guy. If he doesn't really understand what chess is about, he loses. So he moves his queen. The drawback is it hangs the knight with check. And now the game's over. He can't even block. He has to move. And then we can do any number of things. Like take this with a threat. That removes control over the dark squares, which allows dark square entry with our bishop. And now there's no f6 because there's no g7 pawn supporting it. So now he's just running with his king. So we're just having a little fun. He wants to run to b8, right? So we're just going to cut that off real quick. So he can't run that way. He either has to block or run out. And we're up 6 points of material, so it doesn't even matter. Okay, he wants a queen trade. We don't care. We'll do it on our terms if he does, with f4, and then we'll have this strong pawns over here, an open rook over here. So he goes for it because he doesn't want to get checkmated. He takes our pawn. He figures it's something, but is it though? Not really. We'll throw in this check because why not? Opens up our bishop, some light squares. We have this because the bishop supports it. He is attacking our bishop, but we'll see what we want to do with that in a second. Could always plant it here, but I kind of want to go back this way. Maybe I'll take this next. Maybe I'll put a rook on b1, keep his king caged a little bit. We'll see. He doesn't have any moves. These pawns are really strong. So he tries to develop while trading a strong piece of mine. That makes a lot of sense. I'm going to make this weird move. I mean, you could just trade. Should I just trade? I'll just trade. No reason to make weird moves when, you know, if you want it to be educational, let's make logical moves instead of weird moves. So he takes back. So I'll just attack and develop at the same time. Maybe he'll double stack, but we'll just play g3. We can also threaten to queen and stuff, but you can win in a number of ways. Doesn't really matter how you win. If you waste time defending this pawn, which he does, that's kind of terrible. But he doesn't have any real moves, so let's just double stack and threaten the rook trade / checkmate nets. He moves a pawn, which defends this, but because he wants to probably run. Let's cut him off and offer the trade. If he trades, there's no checkmate, but we're still up 5 points of material, so with an obviously winning and dominating position. So this was a pretty simple game. He moves his pawn. Doesn't threaten anything. Not really a good move. I'm just going to take the free material. I'm actually next just going to go c4 and just threaten to checkmate him to end the game quicker. He might not see the checkmate, and if he does, no big deal. c4 is not a bad move anyway, because it'll stop him from advancing. It'll always help your double pawns if he does. And it sets up a checkmate in one threat. It makes sure his king can't get active. c4 is a good move. So we'll just c4 it now. He created an escape square, but it's okay. He runs. Now he can take this with check. He has to run again, and then his checkmate. So his checkmate anyway. Nice. Not even 20 moves. Taking out a 16 something with logic. You guys can do the same thing. So now we open up with e4 and we get possible perk, modern. Kind of Philidor. So he develops the pawn Philidor style. You could go for the queen trade, but no, not gonna. So I'm gonna develop my knight because I'd rather develop my army and then fight. Also, trading queens isn't bad for black. Trading queens on move 3 isn't bad for black because he's just as caught up with everything as you. You can't attack him quick enough. He'll be able to consolidate, and it won't matter that you traded queens. So you just develop pieces. Black thinks for a long time and then takes in the center. We can recapture with the knight. I wonder if c3 is a gambit that you can play, but I'm just going to take back with the knight like a normal person. Nice knight in the center. Let's see what he does. Our queen's diagonals open up for a second. We want to develop. Here. We want to castle. This guy's rated, this is Toth Janos 43, rated 1549. Why is he thinking on move 4? What's he, a6? Because he wants to play knight here without me pinning it. But that's just crazy. You got to develop and castle in the opening. So I want to develop my light square bishop. c4 or d3. Let's go to d3 so we don't give him tempi. Supports the center And when he castles, a future e5 will be nice. We're ready to castle. Simple stuff. We're going to get our pieces out, and then we're going to decide which pawn to push. Okay, so he develops a knight. What does this threaten? A little pressure on the center. We always consider the push. Doesn't do anything here. So we just castle. And we're much more developed than black. We're also up on the clock, which we never are. So that's nice. Because this guy's taking a long time to think of bad moves, which is always helpful. He develops his bishop. Prepares castling. Now that makes sense. I can agree with those moves. We still want to develop. So I'm going to develop my knight towards the center to its most natural square. Just say, okay, it's your turn. He says, okay, I'm just going to castle. Now it's my turn. Okay. What do we want to do? We have a bishop we can develop. We have a rook we can develop. Let's go with the rook. It's very flexible. It helps if we maybe want to push e5 at some point. It gives the rook more squares, and it waits one more turn with the bishop. Maybe I want it on e3, maybe on g5. Although now that I move my rook here, like back when it was an f1, maybe you had the plan f4 e5. So maybe I should have just gone f4 immediately last turn, but this will be a different plan now that I'm going to play on the e-file, so it's another strategy, I guess. He goes knight here. What does this threaten? It puts pressure on my pawns, but it's not threatening them. So for the time being, I can kick his knight. Maybe he wants to provoke one of my pawn moves, but I don't see why. So I will oblige. I fell for it. h3. Maybe that's what he wanted. Okay, he wants to relocate. Duh. Hits the bishop. That's fair. But I'm just going to bring my bishop back one, and then I'm going to play a 4 kicking the knight. Because I can always move my bishop. Bishops are easy to go back and forth. Knights, not so much. They're clumsy pieces. We're not in a rush. Black's not developed. His whole queen side hasn't been touched. This bishop's not looking at anything. We are not in a rush. An interesting move. Okay, never mind. He develops his knight. It's natural. Attacks our knight. Supports the center. Makes a lot of sense. We're going to ignore that knight, and we're going to go to f5, a very strong attacking square, forcing him to give up one of his bishops. He'll probably give up the light square bishop and take. But his pawns are on dark, so this bishop has a lot of mobility, so I'll gladly take it from him. And even though my bishop, I moved it to this spot, you may think it's weird or whatnot because it blocks the rook, but just know it's temporary and that it still beams. And the potential power of the rook is still here, behind it. So he goes here. What does this threaten? Just central support, and getting it out of the way of the attack. What's the downside? You can't leave this knight here. You should definitely take it because it's a very strong attacking piece. So at some point he'll probably have to take it. Also, his bishop's kind of vulnerable here. So I'm thinking of jumping in and pressuring the bishop as well as this square. Although I'm probably not going to use the e7 square, I'm more threatening the bishop. And d5 is just a nice squares. Both of these are very nice squares. And I have active pieces. I didn't move this bishop, but it still looks at a ton of squares. If you move it too early, I mean, you obviously can't move it here, but like here, it doesn't really do anything. It takes away the square from the pawn. So I don't want to move it too early. Maybe there's other moves I can make in the meantime. F4 does weaken my king a little bit because I have H3 in, so there's holes everywhere. But he's not really in a position to attack much. He moves his rook over. He's probably not sure what to do. I have the option of taking his bishop because the rook move doesn't create any threats. If I take his bishop, he develops his queen. I could take the bishop at any moment, I feel like. Also, what else? If I go f4 and he goes knight g6, I'm realistically not going to play e5. Here, e5, takes. Yeah, I mean, I'm realistically not going to play it. And so if I kick his knight, the rook will then have pressure on my pawn. So that doesn't seem like it works at the moment. So let's find another good move for us. What's a good move for us? Well, this knight, its only jumps are kind of here. We could stifle it a little with c3, but it's not so active. Maybe bishop here is more active, but again, it blocks the e file. A little suspicious. That's a good move here. Let's just go c3. It blocks his knight and it blunts the bishop because I don't want to have to worry about the b2 pawn at some point or knight jumps. It's just simple move. Opens squares for my queen to maybe support the center out of the way. So I can put a rook on the d file. Blunts two of his minor pieces. So I think since I'm not entirely sure how I want to do things, it's a very strong waiting move. Again, it's important to distinguish between like a wasted move like a3 and a strong waiting move like c3. a3 is like, oh, I don't know what to do, just anything. c3, at least there's logic behind it. It is a pretty good move, so. Okay, so now, again, we have such a good knight. We have good pieces. We need to get him in the attack. Okay, so he goes here voluntarily without me provoking him. What does this threaten? Well, it opens up the rook's attack on the pawn. Fine. What do we want to do? We can't push the pawn. And we don't want to lose the pawn for no reason. So we need to defend it. How do we want to defend it? Again, we have this square for our queen. It gets out of the way for a rook, and we don't have to worry about knight jumps because of our earlier move, c3. So this seems reasonable. So now we want to move our bishop and put a rook here. Build up our forces. Build up the tension, the pressure, until the tea kettle makes that train sound. Okay, so where we want to put this bishop? Well, now that this pawn's defended, we do have the e3 square available. So he takes our knight, strong knight. We have to take back, so let's take back. It happens to come with a threat, which is very nice. So he hops his knight back in the center. But now we don't have an e-pawn. So if we ever play f4, one, he doesn't have g6, and two, he's not going to attack a pawn. So we're just controlling that square from his pieces with no real downside except this diagonal, which he can't utilize. So we can always kick his knight. What active moves do we have? We have, again, we can always take his bishop, but I don't think his bishop's good. If I go here, he has to go knight here. And his pieces and setup are looking awfully cramped and suspicious. His bishop actually can't go anywhere except here. Because I did make a bunch of weaknesses. So maybe I should go king h2 so I always have the g3 option to solidify. Alternatively, What else can I do? What's my more active move? This is more active. This is, if I go here, I'm not sure what he does. It also supports the G3 push if he goes bishop H4. It also supports bishop squares. I don't have to worry about anything because the d file is always going to be blocked with his pawn structure. He can't attack me. It's a little bit more active. I don't think king h2 is bad. I think king h2 is an improvement on the position. So we could also play that. I totally missed this attacking move because I'm blind. And now he gets this for free, so that was dumb. So, although now we could transfer to the king side. He attacks us again. That's awfully suspicious. I don't really want to get my queen boxed and stuff, do I? Yeah, we'll just keep it here. I don't see, there really is no attack the way my pieces are formulated. I do have pressure down the center and good positional control. There was no reason to give him these two free tempi, but I'm blind. Whenever I do these streams, I blunder everything. So he does jump his knight in here, fine, but it's temporary. I'm going to get to this out of the way. Attack the knight. He'll probably jump in here, which is fine. And then my rook will be hanging. Then I'll finally develop my bishop to connect my rooks. I'll move 20. And then I'll go king h2 to kick his knight, which actually doesn't have any squares. So right now his... Wait a second. Oh yeah. His knight's under attack 3 times. And if he moves it, you still also have the option of checking. And actually, if he takes with the queen, you can take his bishop then. So he moves his knight out of the way, back to where it came from. So he wasted tempi. So actually, my queen balanced out by his waste. So now I could do my tactical operation. Check, check, ruining his pawn structure because his queen was defending this. Alternatively, I can take here, but then he has this check. And if when I move, he moves his rook. So instead we take the bishop because this fork doesn't work due to this check intermezzo, ruining his pawn structure. Yes, we have doubled pawns, but we're not missing a G pawn. So, okay, we don't have any like piece access to his king though, which is unlucky. His knights are a little precarious. I'm wondering if I can kick it, and he has to go back here, and then he has no forward squares. So those knights are looking very clumsy. Maybe I can get some pressure down here with my dark square bishop. This is going to be defended. He's going to bring the rook in. He never has any attack because he can't jump his stuff in. So I'm a lot better, but I got to convert in 2 minutes. We put our bishop here because these diagonals are whatever. We want pressure on the f6 pawn, which might be hard for him to defend practically. When he moves this knight, our bishop always has pressure on the b7 pawn, so he can't move the c6 knight easily. So let's say a plan is if knight goes here, fianchetto a3 to protect the pawn, and then go c5 to open the diagonal. So that's like my plan right now. If he throws in any check now, yeah, it's meaningless because after I go here, his queen is just completely misplaced and there's no coordination. And again, bishop b7, bishop b2 is coming with a queen tempo. So this queen check, if you're thinking about it, it's actually a bad move, not a good move. So he moves his knight back, again with no future. We're going to fianchetto, covering the last rank, preparing our f6 stuff. And our position is just way better than, like, material's equal, but our position's way better. He gives us this check, which is going to win this pawn. So now if we go to h2, it comes with check. You can't, so you don't want to go there. So we're going to go to h1. Now that the back rank is covered and we have a light square bishop, he'll never have anything. Like our king will be safe because this light square bishop provides a lot of light square protection. So the most he can do is take a pawn. If he wants to spend some queen moves taking pawns, I'm fine with that. I'm now going to take control over the e-file because now he can't put a rook here since it's not defended. He covers the e-file with the knight saying, well, as long as I have a piece here, that's irrelevant. That's fair. The downside is it was pressuring this pawn, and it also, I told you about this pawn was always hanging if he moves that knight. I may have to give up my light square bishop at some point, but I don't really care. Meaning trade it for a knight. So he goes here. He does have some pressure. Oops, some pressure, some ideas, but no checks because my king is in the corner. So he's actually out of the way of all checks, which is nice. And then I'm going to have maybe a big brain move, but maybe it leads to perpetual. So here, takes the bishop, takes the bishop. Oh no, it comes with a check. So I don't have to worry about perpetual because he has to move his king. So this is a funny move because if it hangs the bishop, but if he takes it, he hangs his rook. And if he doesn't take it, then I relieve some pressure with removing some pieces. Yes, the a6 pawn was hanging, but I didn't want to waste time grabbing a pawn on the side of the board when he's trying to converge on me. His position's not good. Yeah, and he just runs out of time. So that was a pretty good game other than my queen up giving him tempi for some reason. I didn't see anything. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Submit your rapid games in my Discord. Good luck in your chess games.